So today I'm at a Jeep, Dodge, and Ram dealership because I want to check out some of their pricing and see what kind of inventory they actually have on the ground. So the latest right now out of Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, this comes from their CEO, is that they're actually having to perform an emergency room procedure on the way that they run their business. And what they want to start focusing on more is revenue and market share. And what does that mean as far as the business is concerned? Well, that means they need to sell more freaking vehicles, and that's what they're saying that they want to do. If you gain market share, you're selling more vehicles. If you're increasing your revenues, then you're selling more products. And there's really two ways that you can do that here in the marketplace through the car market. Is either you have to make a product that's better than all the other products that it's similar to yours, so you get more people to buy at that price point, or you have to lower your freaking price so people are incentivized to actually buy the junk that you are trying to sell, right? And I do want to check out one of the prices. This is a Rubicon. I think this is one of the higher level trims. I think that the S is like the lower level, but this is a Rubicon's 2025 model. We're gonna have 2026s rolling in here pretty soon. MSRP on this thing, $60,000. And relative to, I mean, if you consider this a truck, I think it's just a Jeep with it's a Wrangler with a bed on the back of it. But relative to other trucks that you would find at other manufacturers, that's right at the price point that you're going to end up paying. So it's not necessarily a pricing problem if you're considering it a truck. If it's a truck, at the end of the day, it becomes a product problem in my eyes. Still, crazy price. $60,000 is too much for a truck, no matter what manufacturer, what make, whatever you're looking at. It's too much money for a new truck. People cannot afford it right now. This is why we're having a lot of these issues to begin with. But then on top of that, even if you're relatively competitive with the market, it's still a product that's just not moving. It's a mistake. That's what it is. And here we go, the bread and butter of what Jeep is, right? It's the Wrangler. So this one's a 2026 model, so we got new ones here. I saw some 2025 Gladiators over there, so I'm curious to see how many 2025s versus 2026s. So we got the new ones rolling in. This is the Willys 4x4, $56,000. A lot of money, but we see that we have 2026s that are coming in here. Let's check this one. This one's a 2025, so we got 2025 and a 2026 right next to each other. This is Sahara, and $59,000 for this thing. Let's go to this next one. This one is a 2026 model. So lots and lots of 2026s that are coming in here and starting to filter in. And a lot of these dealerships are going to be very pressured to get a lot of these 2025s out here, specifically with Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, because of what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is gain more market share, move more metal. And when you do that and you still have old stock on your dealership lots, well, that doesn't really add up. But two, I mean, these manufacturers, they can be kind of stuck. They're at the mercy in a lot of cases of these dealerships, and the dealerships are also at the mercy of the manufacturers. But right now, when the manufacturer's trying to move more product, and they kick more incentives to these dealerships, well, they still need the dealerships to act on that and give their customers lower prices. So in a lot of ways, it works kind of both ways, where the dealerships are beholden to the manufacturers to get them good product and good prices on the initial price point of the actual vehicles that they're putting out. And then you have to have the carry through from the dealerships to not gouge customers so they can actually move metal, so then they can take more allocations from the manufacturer. See, at the end of the day, the manufacturers, their customers are not me and you. They're not retail customers, right? They need dealerships to buy their product, and then us retail customers are for the actual dealerships. Dealerships make money on us. Manufacturers make money on dealerships. But it all takes the manufacturers and the dealerships to work together and actually carry out the plans from the manufacturer for all of this to work. But if the dealerships still try to gouge people, add a bunch of add-ons, add a bunch of, if there's still market adjustments out there, or if they're just not moving on the prices to actually incentivize consumers to get into these Jeeps, doesn't matter what Jeep, Dodge, and Ram wants to do at the end of the day. It's all up to the dealerships here to actually implement the plans that they want to do. And while we're here, I want to point out one of these. This is a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and the price on this thing is $55,000, and this is the limited. So I think there's two more trim levels that's above this, but this is still one of the higher level trims. $55,000 for this thing. One thing I want to point out, and one reason why this news from Jeep has come out, is specifically something like that. That's your average level vehicle for an average family. That's what we used to be able to buy. If you have one, you have two kids, you can go buy a Jeep Cherokee. It was an affordable thing. A Jeep Grand Cherokee, even the limited models, they were affordable. That's what Jeep made. That's what Ram made. That's what Dodge made. This is what a lot of this company has been built on. But when you're talking about an average vehicle for an average family, and it's $55,000, average families are now priced out of the market. And yeah, you can go to other makes, other manufacturers, where you're going to like Ford, and what's the comp on that? Ford Explorer. They're a little bit cheaper than that, but not all that much. And then you go to somewhere like Toyota and you look at 4Runners, relatively around the same price. But when you're looking at a lot of these vehicles that are that similar size, you're getting to where the whole market is being really tapped out, where families that would go and buy a brand new vehicle every 7 to 8 years, the average family, 1 to 2 kids, they're not buying new anymore. They're having to tear down to used. And what you're doing is you're only catering to the top end of the market. And yes, over the last few years, that was great. We can sell fewer products. We can keep our profit margins really, really high. And we can make tons and tons of money. Turn that money into a bigger share price for our stockholders. Everything is well and good. Well, then the whole rest of the market gets tapped out, and you have to go back to a volume game, and you can't play the volume game with a $55,000 SUV. That's not it. And if the car market is going to get back to what it used to be, which is the volume game, which is what we're seeing now, where manufacturers have to add incentives, where they're trying to capture market share, just like what we heard out of Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, where they're trying to increase revenues, just like what we heard out of Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. Well, the way to do it is not a $55,000 SUV. We're going to have to get back to affordable for the average family, because you have to get the average families to come back into the market and buy new vehicles. And right now they can't, not at $55,000. So what we can see from the actions of Jeep, Dodge, and Ram is that they're not really going to that better quality product. And we can see that because they're not trying to revolutionize what they're putting out. They're putting out very similar models to what they've had in previous years. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel, so they're not going the product route to actually try to increase their sales. But what we've seen come through the dealerships is that they're adding new incentive programs, they're adding special interest rates, they're giving more money to these dealerships to actually incentivize to lower the prices. So the things that they're doing is actually showing where they're trying to move their products. And then the way that they're trying to move their products is by lowering the prices. So that's what we're going to start seeing in the market. This is their plan. I hope they follow through with this. All right, so now here is the problem with them going this route. Well, when you increase revenues, when you're trying to increase market share, when you're trying to lower your prices to get people to actually buy your product, what does that mean? That means your profit margins most likely are going to go down, and your overall profits most likely are going to go down. And this is something that shareholders don't like. So this is why I'm curious to see how this is all going to unfold, and if they're going to actually carry through with this plan, because at the end of the day, shareholders are not going to like this. And we've already seen a massive dump of Stellantis stock over the last year and a half, 2 years of just mismanagement that's happened, products that have come out that people haven't wanted, prices that have gone up higher than any other manufacturer out there, and customers are saying no. And one thing that Stellantis has pointed out too is they will need to gain back their customer loyalty. I agree with this wholeheartedly, but the problem is going to be there's going to be pushback from shareholders, from people who have lots of money invested in this company, because what they want is they want more money in their pockets, right? They don't care how many units you sell. They care about how many dollars you bring to me. How much money are you going to give to me as a shareholder? That's what they care about. And here's the thing, if Stellantis, if Jeep, Dodge, and Ram want to continue to be companies that customers actually like, that's not the direction they have to go, because they've already lost their reputation so much for gouging people with keeping their margins so high and keeping their prices so high. And that's not what Jeep has been built on. Simple, rugged, affordable. That's what customers want from a Jeep product, and that's not what it is anymore. So they're going to have to go the other way. This is what they're saying that they're going to do, And I hope they can do it. And one thing that's hurting a lot of these dealerships to actually move metal right now is just the economy overall and the amount of negative equity that's actually coming into their system. And I've got a prime example of it right here. This is a, what is this, a Charger? Yeah, Charger's 4-door, Challenger's 2-door. But this is a prime example of how negative equity is actually killing the system right now. I'm hearing it from a lot of salespeople, a lot of GMs, that they're having to turn away customers because of the amount of negative equity that is coming into their system, and these customers, they have no money to make it right. So let's give this example. There was a lot of these Challengers, a lot of these Chargers that I saw 2-3 years ago that had MSRPs of right around $50,000. But on top of that, because we had production shortages, because we had the amount of vehicles that were offered to these dealerships that was way low and demand was way up, well, you had a lot of these dealerships that were adding on $10,000 and $20,000 market adjustments. So you take that $50,000 MSRP, tack on a $20,000 market adjustment on top of that thing, well, that customer's now in that vehicle for $70,000. Back then, money was very easy to get, so a lot of these customers that were buying these things, they were putting little to no money down on them, and now they own that Challenger, that Charger for $70,000. But at that moment, it was only worth $50,000. Doesn't matter though, they got the loan for it. They got to ride around in this $70,000 vehicle that was really a $50,000 vehicle. We fast forward to right now, and they might still owe, because they put little to no money down on this thing, they still might owe $45,000, $50,000 on that vehicle over there. They come in to the dealership to trade it in because their monthly payments are too high. They're trying to get into a cheaper vehicle so they can lower the monthly payments. Times are getting tough right now. Everything costs more. We need to let's get rid of our toy and get something that's a little bit more sensible. That's what a lot of people are trying to do right now. And they come in, well, your vehicle's worth about $25,000. So you're upside down about 20 grand. Is there anything you can do to help us out to try to get you into this next car? We really want to sell you a car, but it's very difficult for us to come up with this $20,000 extra. We can't put that amount of money on the end of your next loan. Well, now that customer realizes they made a boo-boo, right? So they owe $20,000 extra on top of that vehicle that has greatly depreciated, and that $20,000 that they spent on top of that MSRP when they initially bought it, it just vanished the second that they purchased it. They didn't think about that when they bought it. They bought that nice Challenger, that nice Charger. They got to ride that thing, and they got in it for that $1,000 monthly payment that they could absolutely afford at the moment because they were getting tons of money from everywhere. Job market was great. Inflation wasn't crazy yet, so groceries weren't stacking up on them. Rent wasn't stacking up on them. This is what a lot of people are realizing right now, and this is what's taking a lot of people out of the market because they're coming in with that kind of situation, and these dealerships, there's nothing for them to do. They can't magically poof $20,000 on the back side of a loan. Now, negative equity is not a weird thing here in the car market. There's a lot of people that buy a car, drive it for 2 years, trade it in, and they just keep rolling negative, rolling negative, rolling negative. But usually it's $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. Dealerships can work with that. They can't work with $15,000. They can't work with $20,000 of negative equity. And this is taking a lot of people out of the market. So even when a company like Jeep wants to increase their sales volumes and they're going to lower their prices, they're putting their money where their mouth is and actually incentivize people to come in and buy vehicles and taking large percentages off of a lot of these Jeep, Dodge, and Rams. It might not matter because the public that's going to come in here and try to buy those things, they might be still so far upside down that they can't get right side up to be able to get into their next loan. It's a big struggle for not only Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, but for every individual company and individual that's wanting to buy the cars in this market right now. And it's going to be for the foreseeable future.